Welcome to the bullpen. This is Don Wick from the Red River Farm Network with Tommy Grisafi from Advanced Trading, ATI Pro Media. This is our monthly look at the markets. Tommy, January just got away from me, and we're already into the early days of February. Let's talk about it. First of all, looking back to January, what were the big market stories? What were you following?
Well, I think coming into the year, you hoped that the funds would buy corn, wheat, and beans. It was actually the opposite. The funds sold more corn, wheat, and beans. And as we ended the year, interest rates were collapsing and interest rates rose back up. And then we had a hot unemployment number that happened in the first week in February. But getting us up to today, that the United States economy, in some ways, is very healthy. And the stock market, especially the Nasdaq's at all-time highs. The S&P's not far behind it, and the Dow Jones isn't far behind it. You'll hear people talk about the Russell Index or other things nowhere close to it. But the economy's on fire. The labor market's extremely tight, and so inflation, Don, isn't exactly going away. But the Fed may have pulled off one of the wildest things ever. They raised rates as fast as they did, as intense as they did, and nothing bad actually happened. Now, the American farmer whose operating note tripled, they're not happy about it. And any business owner who's dealing with money that's 3 times more than it was isn't happy about it.
You think of a farmer, they like to be long in this market. The funds really have been very short in this trade. Is that continuing?
Yeah, the funds have added to their short in the last weeks of January and first week of February. And like you said, I feel like we're halfway through 2024.
Yeah.
We're 1/12 into the year. I don't know what's going to happen, but buckle up because this one's going to be a wild one with this election. No farm bill. I mean, we can go on for an hour here.
Yeah, no doubt. We had a crop report, supply demand report out from USDA. In fact, a bit of a data dump today with CONAB and StatsCan all out with numbers today. Looking at those WASDE numbers, looks like we trimmed back Brazilian both corn and soybean production a bit, but in the U.S. we bumped up soybean ending stocks. What's the outcome? What's your take on this report?
Just not selling as many beans as we would hope. And even though the price of beans is broke, we're not selling as many soybeans as we'd like. So the United States dialed in that export number a little bit. There's still farmers trying to run around saying that it's all ruined in South America. That's not true. They had an incredible large amount of ground they planted. It didn't all go perfect everywhere, as you know, here in the United States. It doesn't always go well everywhere, but yet they planted a lot and enough showing up. We had timely rains down there, and the genetics are great. And I'll tell you, Don, the South American farmers' farming practices have gotten better. Help my memory. Have you been to South America? You've traveled a lot with
That's
agriculture.
one place I haven't been to. I have not been to Brazil or Argentina. That's.
I
I'd
think
love
we
to
should
go.
go. We might need
Yeah,
armed bodyguards, so a couple good-looking guys like us show up. We might
yeah.
get they'll steal our iPhone. But Brazil and Argentina, the whole deal. Speaking of Argentina, they have a new elected official. Been a little news out of there. It's a interesting dynamic when it comes to South America and agriculture.
Yeah, that new Argentine president really is trying to be making some major reforms, and obviously that economy has had a whole lot of trouble. They need some help.
Yeah, it's interesting, and we have our own problems here. This election's coming up. I don't know that either party's totally happy with the candidates. How about that election results? Nikki Haley in Nevada, they wrote none of the above. I didn't know that
Yeah,
was a choice. Oh, Don, it's going to be a wild one here, this election. And I don't know when the election, if it happens, when it happens, it'll happen. I, I think everyone's going to be upset regardless of the outcome.
David Wasserman, who's the elections analyst with the Cook Report, was speaking
Hmm.
at the American Sugar Beet Growers meeting earlier this week on Monday, actually, and had a chance to visit with him afterwards. He talked about there really has been no time in our history where nobody's excited about either one of the major candidates, whether it's on the Democratic or Republican side of the ticket. But he also said he expects turnout to be uh, relatively high because people see this as really a turning point election. That they probably didn't show up in 2016 as much as they probably will in a year like this when they think whoever goes into that Oval Office could change the history of this country.
And history's changing daily, right? Sometimes by our elections, sometimes by choices other countries make. I mean, we're involved in the Ukraine, we're involved in Israel. You and I didn't get to vote on those, right? We didn't get to vote like, hey, let's send all this money to all these countries. And whether it's right or wrong, what's probably upsetting, in my opinion, people more than anything else is the border crisis. I mean, this administration can no longer fake what's happening. It is total chaos, and you can see it in large cities. And you're now seeing the mayors of large cities in Chicago, Atlanta, New York, all over saying, hey, stop sending these people here. And we're like, hey, you wanted them, here you go. It's wild. It's not good. It's not good for the safety of America. So there's wars happening overseas, and then our borders are being invaded, and you're seeing pressure up there in North Dakota. The thing is, Don, the real kick in the pants is you'd think with this many people coming over the border that they would all be coming over here to work, and the labor market's never been tighter. That's what's upsetting me. I don't mind people migrating to America. Why wouldn't you want to? It's the best country in the world. But, show up to an office and get a job, not a free iPhone and a place to live.
Yeah, well, you and I both know the workforce issues that we have on the farm, that we have in ag processing, really throughout the entire sector. We need people to fill all of those type of positions. When you take a look at the geopolitical type of situation, we have been paying a lot of attention to what's been going on in places like the Red Sea. When we're taking container ships instead of going through the Suez Canal, we're going all the way around the Horn of Africa. That's got to impact freight rates. It's got to impact time, just the logistics of getting one ship loaded after another when they're spending that much time on the water. What's true impact do you see in the marketplace, or is there?
No, it's going to affect things, and we don't know how the final shipping deal is going to work out, but the price of stuff's going up. I mean, there's important things in these ships that are going to take 10 to 15 days longer to get there, and the price of getting it there has went up tremendously. Maybe right now, like big companies like Walmart had a lot of stock and inventory, and maybe they had enough cushion, but it's just like the whole COVID thing of wild price swing started 4 years ago. We don't quite know the effects yet of these shipping problems.
Uh, we talked about the supply demand report. The next big report will be at the end of March, what we see with prospective plantings. As you talk with growers, do you have some kind of idea of where we're shaking out as far as acres? What's the trend as we go into this year?
That's a great question. I think in particular for North Dakota, I see a lot more corn. I'm sorry, a lot more beans. We planted a lot of corn in the state of North Dakota. I see some rotation into beans, may see a little less wheat. When you look at the I states, they have a typical rotation. They don't
Right.
swing much. States like Texas, though, can really move the needle in the southern states. Sometimes those states are in a horrible drought, sometimes they're not. If they're not in a drought, they may plant a lot of different things. Sometimes you see cotton, the price of cottons went up recently. Maybe people plant a little bit more cotton and they plant a little less corn. Usually, Don, it's not enough to really move the markets unless it's a significant move. And things that would affect that would be more weather related, a severe drought, severe flooding, that Mother Nature stepped up and said, hold off, you're not planting corn, but you can go plant beans on June 15th, something like that.
Well, we know that in this cattle market, Mother Nature is large and in charge, as you like to say. The cattle inventory report came out, and we're looking at a cow herd that's the smallest we've had since 1951. That's pretty amazing when you look at that. And it takes a long time for us to recover and build that herd back up again. These high prices are going to be with us for a bit.
Yeah, multi-year cycle. It's not something you just get in or out of. The hog industry goes through highs and lows much quicker. It doesn't take nearly as long to build that hog herd up. So the cattle industry, there's not as big of inventory. Look for carcass weights to be a little higher. And as prices go up, unfortunately, although the cattlemen, the ranchers doing well now. As prices go up, boy, you're going to hurt long-term demand. People eventually are going to go to the store and look for more of a chicken-based product or pork or tone it down. When we look at like eating ribeyes and fillets for very special occasions.
We're actually seeing the competing proteins, chicken and pork, aren't they're not as cheap as they probably would be as in a normal situation either, are they?
Right, so maybe the raw product is a little affordable, but the actual shipping and the labor to get that product, someone chopped up, all the way from processing to delivery to on the shelf to storage, keeping it cool, everything's expensive. Sure, maybe chicken or pork, you see how much pork's trading per pound. You say that's not expensive, but there's so many factors that go into getting it to the store.
Tommy, as we go into this month of February, what are you looking at? What should be top of mind for our producers?
Well, there's some old crop issues in corn, wheat, and beans. People are working through that. The market's going to uh, it's going to go through some changes. We're going through changes. We don't have crop insurance. We're establishing the crop insurance level here in the month of February. There's still significant risk to 2024 corn, wheat, and bean prices, yet everyone's thinking they can't go lower, but that's just when the market does. So protect that downside, hope for upside. That would be called a put option in our world. You do not have crop insurance yet, although if prices keep up at this, you are not going to like the levels that crop insurance is established. So if you take a 470 corn board and you take that, you buy 75-80% of that, you're only protecting a 370 price. And that means from 470 to 370, that downside needs to be protected by the viewer watching this video.
Speaking of videos, you're out live every morning. Tell us about what's available there.
Well, thanks, Don. Advanced Trading has a media group now, ATI Pro Media. Allegedly, I'm the head of it. It was my idea. And ATI Pro Media goes live every day at 9. We broadcast live on YouTube, Facebook, X, LinkedIn, ATI Pro Media, usually attached to the ATI website or social media. Then we start in a few weeks, we're going to release premium content. That's a pay-for service. It's going to run about $1 a day. Then, of course, today I was blessed to be down in Nashville. I actually hosted a live TV show. They let anyone down here at RFD TV. And as you say, I've come a long way from that day I stumbled in your tent.
Yeah, that's been a few years since you wandered into our tent at Big Iron, and you've gone become multimedia here, Tommy. I appreciate the chance to talk.
Thanks, Don.
Always
My pleasure.
on these markets. And thank again to our viewers for being with us for our monthly update on markets. It's called The Bullpen. We're talking with Tommy Grisafi from Advanced Trading based at Mayville, North Dakota. Until our next edition, I'm Don Wick on the Red River Farm Network.